to Road Gang Radio with Jimmy Mack, Lindsay Lawler.
Give me a minute, y'all. I'm coming.
And you, because if you're listening, you're in the gang. Take it away, founding member Phone Master Dre.
That I can do on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday, because this is Road Gang Radio and we are live from Fast Sports Studios. Ain't that right, Jimmy Mack?
That is absolutely correct. We will make the transition in a moment here into Highway to Health, one of those other long-running segments that we carried over with us from the previous platform. I said platform, now I mean platforms. You can find us on YouTube and on Facebook and on Odyssey, on our Live 365, or maybe you're actually listening to us later in the day or sometime tomorrow, which for you is now, on your favorite podcast platform, Living Your Best Life. I also want to remind people, too, that we are now in November, which for many people is Movember. People grow mustaches for all sorts of various men's health issues. You should look up and ask Google or ask any of your favorite AI systems, what is Movember? You might like the answer that you're getting. And while this particular issue we'll be talking about on Highway to Health isn't one of the things in the list for Movember, it really does apply to a lot of dudes out there. A lot of you guys have started the Project 61 Health Challenge, and part of what is kind of wrapped up in there is many things that kind of, well, take care of what we're going to be talking about next, including drinking that big glass of water every single morning. So, without further ado, or a don't, Toby Smithson, by the way, MS, RDN, LD, CDCES, FAND, is working her dream job. She's the Senior Manager for Nutrition and Wellness at the American Diabetes Association. She leads the coordination and execution of nutrition and wellness across all channels and for all audiences. She's an award-winning certified diabetes care and education specialist and registered dietitian nutritionist who has successfully managed her own type 1 diabetes for more than 5 decades. We'll go through some of her other bona fides here in just a minute, but I wanted to welcome her to the platform, wanted to welcome her to Road Gang Radio and Highway to Health. Good morning to you, Toby.
Good morning. And we have something else to honor during the month of November, too, because it's American Diabetes Month.
I know, and it's spectacular how it all rolls together, because I feel like in many ways that there really is an effort, especially as we roll into, I've always said the starter pistol for eating too much and gaining 15 pounds. My good friend Tom Bray likes to say you don't gain 15 pounds over Christmas. The starter pistol is probably October 29th or 30th, and then you eat straight on through into a disaster for Super Bowl Sunday. It's really, really great that you guys have positioned yourself in November, because it's a real opportunity to be mindful about how we're kind of constructing our diets, particularly as the holiday seasons begin to kind of kick into full gear. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of times we say starts the season of eating.
and what I love about you saying that, the season of eating does not need to be a health disaster. It doesn't need to be that way. And so much of what you do is making sure that people understand that you can have a joyful relationship with food while still managing and preventing either the onset of diabetes or the prevention of it from actually resulting in complications that could cost you your lifestyle and ultimately your life, correct?
Absolutely, spot on, yes. And I'm going to give some tips today, too, because the whole thing is that we want you to have the tools in your toolbox to make informed food decisions and lifestyle decisions, because you have the opportunity to do that. With diabetes, it's a self-managed condition. And so we got to keep thinking about that we're the ones managing. We're the ones driving the ship. No, I should say truck. Right?
Yes, you should. Well done, by the way. And anybody who joins me on this show and has a discussion about diabetes or health issues that are actually complications that result in diabetes knows that my father, by the way, who is currently rolling into his 83rd year on the planet, about 3 or 4 years ago was in bad shape, wasn't doing all of his diligence to take care of diabetes, somehow had managed to get to 79 at 320 pounds. At this moment in time, he is now 260, and he has learned, as many people can, as you probably will say, it's never too late. That it is, in many ways, one of those conditions, especially with the complications that result afterwards, that you can actually turn things around and really reset your lifestyle by making some very wise choices, correct?
Hmm. Yes, absolutely.
I want to let people know, too, that you can find these guys, the American Diabetes Association, on the Book of Face. You can find them on LinkedIn at the American Diabetes Association and on Instagram at AM Diabetes ASSN. And by the way, they are everywhere that this information can be found. You'll always find them popping up all over the place. Let's kind of talk about what diabetes is, how to look for the symptoms, and why early detection matters. We'll start there.
Okay. Yeah, well, when you have diabetes, your blood glucose or blood sugar levels rise too high. And it's important to note, too, that everybody, whether you have diabetes or not, your blood glucose levels, blood sugar, does rise, especially after eating. But for people with diabetes in particular, it rises to levels that are too high and often stays at that level until the diagnosis and that the management is put into place. So there are three main types of diabetes. Type 1, which sometimes gets confused with others, but this one is when your immune system mistakenly destroys the beta cells in your pancreas that make insulin. And I always think of this as, I don't know if everybody's old enough to remember Pac-Man. Remember that video game?
It's all good. It continues to make appearances as even a retro pop culture thing. So and by the way, thank you for thinking that I am so young as not to remember Pac-Man. Oh my God, do I remember Pac-Man? I actually bought an Atari system with a bad Pac-Man on it. That's how far back I go. But thank you very much,
Yeah.
Toby.
Well, I think of that game, and that's how I visualize with type 1 diabetes. The yellow dot, the smiley face is going through the track, munching away. So I think of that as with type 1, that the beta cells were destroyed, munched away at, and so basically you end up no longer able to make insulin. So that's why people with type 1 diabetes take insulin from an outside source, from an injection, basically, or an insulin pump. And then in type 2 diabetes, your body does not make enough insulin or just doesn't use the insulin well. And we often define this as insulin resistance. It's just like putting up a fight with us and won't let it all work the right way. And then the third type of diabetes is gestational diabetes, and that develops during pregnancy. It's usually in the second trimester of pregnancy, usually between 24 and 28 weeks. So those are the three main types. And did you want to know about symptoms?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I want to know about how to, what are the earliest symptoms that here's the thing. Sometimes you have some symptoms and they go there and say you don't have diabetes, but it was always worth going to the doctor to get a little bit of a checkup. But I want to kind of talk about the combination of the two, the idea of actually seeing the symptoms and tracking them early and what early detection can actually mean for your life moving forward.
Mm-hmm. If we do have a good starting point is on the diabetes.org website, our American Diabetes Association website. We have a free 60-second risk test. So you could do it from the comfort of your own phone or laptop. And it's on diabetes.org /risk test. And you could go through those questions as a starting point if you're, wondering. Having blood work done is a great way also to confirm. That's one of the ways that we confirm if you have a diabetes diagnosis, because there's what we call target ranges and normal ranges for blood glucose levels, and also this one lab called hemoglobin A1C. And that lab test tells us what the past 3 months average reading was in a percentage.
Okay. So Why is it so important? That's what we kind of always go back to in regards to the early detection, and talk about what then happens with early detection. So you find out, like I said, I mean, hopefully it just turns out you got to make some lifestyle changes, but you're not quite there yet. But what happens when they tell you, okay, here we are? Because your area of specialty is often people, by changing their diets, often end up having amazing results very quickly. I mean, it's not as quick as like actually getting a Lyme in your system if you have scurvy, but there can be some really dramatic turnarounds by simply making a couple of adjustments. And talk about what that early detection means, and talk about how quickly some things can turn around if you're having discomfort or if you're not feeling well, how quickly you can actually reset the clock.
Yeah, and it's some of the symptoms. I know exactly what you're talking about. Is that we could like slough them off, like it's maybe for this reason or that. Some symptoms are like feeling very tired, or having blurry vision, or having to go to the bathroom a lot, or drink a lot. Like those types of things, we could always put that off to other things. So it's really good to know, to find out if you're having any of these symptoms, because we put a plan in place. There's mostly surrounded around lifestyle. So that means healthy eating and being physically activity, reducing stress, and if needed, your medical care team will look at what your readings are, what your numbers are, and in the beginning especially, and sometimes throughout, it's trial and error. I call this pivoting, that we're going along and you may be on a certain plan, but if it's not working, we may need to pivot and make a minor change to something. So, a lot of times people will think if they're put on insulin, oh, that means that's not good, or I did something, but it's always looking at what is the best thing for you individually, because we can't just say one thing. Everybody's an individual and how their body reacts to things. So mostly focused on lifestyle changes for all types of diabetes. That's where the strong focus is.
The lifestyle changes. Let's talk about a couple of them. I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, you actually talk about there are 42 things that can affect sugar, lifestyle factors, and 42 things. Talk about some of the big ones. Like I said, you talked about, exercising, of course, is a massive one. People don't realize that staying active often reduces blood pressure, because high blood pressure is often an indication that you're headed in the wrong direction. But that, that there can often be one or two really solid opening choices that can really change the game. What do they look like?
Yeah, for physical activity, just keep thinking about move more. Do I have any opportunity as a starting point? Like I'm somebody that's baby steps. It's not run the marathon tomorrow.
Oh,
so
thank
it's
God.
baby
Oh,
steps and
thank God.
everything.
I have to tell you, because if you tell me how to run a marathon, I'm like I'm going to get diabetes. I'm done. Thank God. Thank you.
Right. No, I'm a realist, definitely a realist. I walk the talk here, like you mentioned in my bio. I have type 1 diabetes, so I understand from the personal perspective. All it's a 24/7 condition. So let's take it step by step. What is doable, and so for the physical activity, move more. Think about those two words. So if we're talking about like truck drivers and such, I know that the schedule is just crazy, right? Very, very busy, and a lot of times it's sitting. So think about any opportunities and this is the first step, think about how you can do this. Are there opportunities like when the truck is being loaded or unloaded? Can I do some walking around the building, or when you're fueling up? Those are some downtimes, possibly, quote downtimes, that wherever you can move more, be physically active. So that's with physical activity. With healthy eating, that's my strong area of expertise since I'm a dietitian. It's making those informed decisions. And a couple tools that I want to talk about is that one is label reading. So pick up the food items, and check the label. And I have a little key strategy there too. When you're looking at a food label, the far column on the food label says percent daily value. So this is what you want to do is look at 10% daily value for things that you want more of, like fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron. Those are things we want more of. So look for the percent daily value to be more than 10%, and 10% or less of things that we don't want a lot of, which is sodium and saturated fat and added sugars. So that's just a little key to take with you. But label reading is a super great tool.
Slows you down too,
gives us-
doesn't it? It slows you down. It actually makes you mindful.
Yeah.
It makes you mindful of what you're putting into your
Exactly.
system, correct?
Right. And also with diabetes, I also want to point out too, is that you're looking at total grams of carbohydrate. You're looking at that, and it's great if there's at least 10% of fiber in there. So that's where you're focusing on for the carbohydrate section.
Guys,
And
really
then
quickly, I want to let people know this too, because I said I would get to this as we kind of move into the dietetic stuff. Toby, by the way, was awarded the 2020 Diabetes Educator of the Year by the Diabetes Dietetic Practice Group of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. She is the former media spokesperson for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and a media spokesperson, of course, for the Association of Diabetes Care and Education Specialists. She's a frequent resource for nutrition writers and bloggers and writes for U.S. News and World Report, and is the principal author of Diabetes Meal Planning and Nutrition for Dummies. So I want you guys to know exactly who's giving you this advice. You need to listen, folks. I wanted to ask you one quick question, and this is an important one for me because it's one that a number of us in my family have wrestled with, some family members. You have no problem with people enjoying their life. You can hear the joy in your own voice. Is there a particular food that you love to eat now that is spectacularly good for you as well? And how do you enjoy it?
Mm-hmm. To pick one food is really, really hard. What I do, it's not one food. It has to be a combination of foods.
Let's hear it.
I visualize the diabetes plate, and you can find all this information on our diabetesfoodhub.org. It's on diabetes.org, the website. The diabetes plate, that's how I picture my when I'm choosing food. So half the plate, it's a 9-inch plate we're talking about, half of the plate is filled with non-starchy vegetables. 1/4 of the plate lean protein, and the other 1/4 of the plate is quality carbohydrate. So that is a constant in my mind at all times. For healthy food choices, I want to have that combination because one food alone isn't going to do it. But I'm able to enjoy foods in that combination because it all works together to help with slowing down the rises in blood glucose level and making sure I'm getting all the vitamins and nutrients that I need.
It really is about combinations too, and where your areas as a dietitian really come into play is the fact that it's like, you are literally in some ways taking joy from creating the formula that will actually work in combination to reduce not just one thing, but sometimes the combinations of this work together to really kind of control your diabetes and really put you in a place for the most successful sort of lifestyle. I was kind of hoping, though, do you have a favorite vegetable? Is there one vegetable in particular that you gravitate towards?
I tend to go with green beans because you could get them year round, and sometimes my pantry always has no added salt canned green beans because they're easy to fix really quick, and also because I know my nutrition mind knows that they're a non-starchy vegetables, low in carbs, low in calories, and that happens to be one of my favorite vegetables.
And by the way, I bring this up also because it's like, you said no sodium. There's no salt in that too. And a lot of people often forget that when it comes to dealing with their health and being diabetically wise with their dietary choices. Salt is another disaster for our overall health in regards to blood pressure and a lot of other stuff. This is not just, like I said, one of the great things about talking with you is that we're not just talking about stopping eating the Lucky Charms. By the way, today's National Candy Day. You could not have come on a better day, and I'm not sure why it's National Candy Day. I thought Halloween was National Candy Day, and people complain about Big Pharma all the time. Let's have a conversation about Big Candy. I mean, because it's like people, but that's a big thing too, right? It's not just sugar we're talking about. It's the things that the body makes into sugar as well, correct?
Yeah, for diabetes, we're looking at total grams of carbohydrate. And we know that there's some foods, so I'll give the example of candy, like the hard candies, that it's straight sugar. There's nothing to slow down the absorption. So if somebody has a low blood sugar, then we say, yes, that's the time to have some hard candies. Because why? It's going to raise your blood glucose level immediately. So that's also telling us, well, on a day-to-day basis, I don't really want to be doing that to my blood sugar levels. I don't want them to be spiking automatically. So that's why hard candies are saved for those moments that you have a low reading. That means 70 milligrams per deciliter or lower. A 70 or lower is a low blood glucose reading.
Yeah, and by the way, you made the point as well too about that direct main line of sugar. This is why people don't understand. Fruit's got plenty of sugar in it. It's also got an incredible amount of. Please correct me when I'm wrong, because you are the expert here. It's got an incredible amount of fiber in it as well. And you talk about the idea of that buffer between the sugar and just mainlining it, which is why people often, if you need some sugar but you're not like gonna, die if you don't get it. It's better to get it from stuff like fruit or any sort of like. Any kind of food item that actually has fiber in it and that actually has a high nutritional value. It goes back to that magic 10% you talked about. How much of my daily need that is good for me is contained. If it's got a little bit of sugar in it, that comes naturally, that's okay. But that's what's important, is making sure that you're not just mainlining sugar with no nutritional value.
Right. And on the plate that I talked about with half non-starchy vegetables, a quarter lean protein, the other quarter, we call it quality carbs for this exact reason that you were explaining. Quality carbs. So fruit goes in that section of the plate. So does whole grains. So does starchy vegetables like, squashes and potatoes.
And sweet potatoes. How good are sweet potatoes for you, by the way? They're great, aren't they?
I heard a woo in the background. Sweet potatoes it's all in the portion. They bring a lot of nutrition with it, and they have fiber. So they go in the quality carb section of the plate, and it's all about portion.
Yeah, and that's a really big thing too.
Overdo.
That's a big thing too. I know that you guys talk about is portions. It's portions. It's portions. It's portions, and that's where really being a mindful eater as well. I mean, I don't know how much you preach that, but the idea that it's like if you simply slow down what you're eating, you can actually figure out your portions better than if you just wolf down your food, right? I mean, because basically you're not giving yourself a chance to enjoy it. How much of a role can people, by simply changing their eating hygiene, their eating habits, actually begin to change their lifestyle?
Yeah, and that plate again helps. I know I keep bringing up the plate.
No,
but
keep on
really
doing it.
Important. It's a foundation. Like I look at that as the roadmap for healthy eating is the plate. So I'm going back to the plate. It helps us that we develop that so that you don't really need to do measuring and weighing and stuff if you use the plate as your first step, because it portions it out, of your quantity. So it's being mindful as you use the plate.
We've only got time for one more question in regards to, can you give me I'm going to give you an example because a lot of people love the color, the look, the feel of what the holidays bring. If with the plate in your mind, what would be an example of a perfect plate for a holiday celebration where you still feel like you're part of the celebration, but at the same time you're eating very wisely?
hmm So non-starchy vegetables would be filled with Brussels sprouts or green beans or both, because we have half the plate, so we could have 2 servings of the non-starchy vegetables. So let's say green beans and carrots, or Brussels sprouts and carrots for color, and then the other quarter of the plate for the lean protein, we could do a roasted turkey slices, and then the quality carb could be your sweet potato.
Oh, I like that meal. I actually get excited about that. I'm excited about talking to you. We should talk more, but we're out of time this morning. I want to once again remind
Okay.
people that we have a person who has successfully managed type 1 diabetes for her entire life. Toby Smithson, by the way, is the Senior Manager for Nutrition and Wellness at the American Diabetes Association, diabetes.org. You can find them, by the way, on Facebook at the American Diabetes Association, over on LinkedIn, American Diabetes Association, on Instagram at AM Diabetes ASSN. Of course, the abbreviation for association. And she knows of what she speaks. She is the principal author of Diabetes Meal Planning and Nutrition for Dummies, as well as being a celebrated educator. We can't thank you enough. Happy beginning of the holidays. Welcome aboard, and I hope you have a very successful Diabetes Month moving forward, helping people get the information they need. You're welcome back anytime.